Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Rouge Rugby podcast. My name is Dan Murphy, and with me always the wonderful and fantastic and amazing and just great Derek Brissett and Stu Hardy. Gentlemen, it was another tough weekend for the Toronto Arrows. I hope that you guys were able to find solace in the nice weather. I like with like 10 minutes left in the game, I just got up and I went outside and played with my family. I'm like, there's no point in watching the rest of this game. Nothing. They're not coming back from this, and I just went outside.
Come on, Dan, where's the loyal fence support, man? You can't watch the rest of the game.
No, what?
Hey, mental health is important for us all.
I don't need to torture myself.
What did you miss? You missed like a try or something?
I missed Montero's try, and like that was it.
Oh,
wow. Listen,
you probably missed. Did you miss McNulty's try too?
Is that the last try of the game, wasn't it?
Yeah,
then I would have.
I think for everyone's mental health, especially Dan's, it was probably for the best that you missed that one, because that was when my head was in my hands.
Well, guys,
I'll try to watch it.
I think that with lockdowns being extended and everything, I think mental health is very important. So I need to take a break. But you know what?
Yeah.
Let's rehash some wounds. Let's open it back up again. Let's talk about the Toronto Arrows and their loss to LA. They lost 43-16. Manuel Montero had his first try in MLR, which congratulations, Manuel. We really loved watching you play in this game. Canadian Corey Thomas scored the first try in the game, which is great to see him kind of put his hand up with the Giltinis and say, hey, listen, I'm here. Give me some playing time. Give me the ball. And he did a great job with it and was named to the MLR team of the week. So Corey, that was a great game. You know, hated it that it happened against the Arrows, but we're glad to see an adopted Canadian raise the flag and have a great game. Guys, I want to hear what you think worked well, what needs improving, and who is your player of the match. So, Stu, why don't you go first? Tell me about what you thought about this game and kind of go through our bullet points about what we want to talk about, because boy, oh boy.
Well, I know that Derek has a few comments to make about, especially within the first, let's say, first 38 minutes of approaching the whitewash in Toronto's favor that didn't go that way. And I'll leave Derek to talk about that. But in all honesty, this is the most that we've seen LA been threatened so far in MLR. For that first 38 minutes, and especially for the first, if I get my times correct, 8 minutes, it was all Arrows. Arrows were leading LA, and LA were behind for the first time in their history of Major League Rugby. You know, with that penalty in the second minute, and then obviously it went a different way, which is, you know, disappointing. But I'd say for the first 38 minutes, this was, you know, Arrows evolved. This was showing that LA is like, hey, welcome to the league. It's not going to be as easy as you think it is. We're not Seattle and we're not New England. We're Toronto. We're from the north where it's cold and, you know, ice in our veins, and we're going to show you what it's really like. Then came the 39th minute, and that was the beginning of the downfall for Toronto. And this leads to one of the bigger issues within Toronto in that game. And you can also look back on even the Threat and Palermo try against DC is a lack of composure. Now, the most obvious case would be Gaston Cortez losing his composure, just making a very stupid penalty that gets him sent to the sin bin, that gives LA an easy try on the stroke of half time. But then it's also being down for the next 8 minutes, and within the first 5 is then conceding 2 tries. And, you know, I'd say LA are currently on paper like the toughest opposition that the Arrows are going to face this season. I mean, if you look at their starting 15, I actually made a list for all the players that have played internationally in that starting 15, whether it be for 15s or for 7s, there was a combined 362 test caps. So there's obviously huge amounts of experience in that side. And when you're facing that much experience, you have to be, focused on what you need to do. You need to be prepared for what you've got to do to ensure that, your attack is on point and your defense is on point. And as the game wore on, the composure just wasn't there. You can see it in those 5 minutes between those two tries, but then you can see it with the last try of the game. It's like that. I want to say like it wasn't a kick into touch. It was just kick hits the pitch and just like bounces straight back into LA's hands. There's no advantage whatsoever for you to do that. It was probably safer to just go to ground in the try zone and just concede a scrum on the scrum 5, because then you would at least have that form of control of what's going on. But yeah, it was a complete lack of composure that really affected the Arrows. And it made the case of that there were flashes of brilliance for the Arrows, of course, Manuel Montero, but you need to be consistent, and you need to be ideally consistently good at what you have to do. And that's the thing, because, it's easy for me to say like, oh, Gaston Cortez is the reason why the Arrows lost. That's not true. The Arrows are the reason the Arrows lost, and also LA, but also the Arrows.
So after saying that, who was someone that impressed you from the Arrows that kind of put their hand up and said, hey, like, I'm here in this game?
Okay, well, the obvious choice then, because I've actually had to pick two, because Manuel Montero, okay, this wasn't his first game that with the Arrows, but if you look at his try, it's like he's involved in the lead up to it. There's like fantastic offloading, but also throughout the game, he had like great defensive work as well. As we've seen, his agility is a key factor as well. However, it's got to go back to Captain Aquaman himself, Lucas Rumble. Like more turnovers than a bakery. He's just fantastic in that game. And like what I've got to from LA, obviously they had like great guys in all positions. Of course, DTH was doing fantastic work. Nearly scored a try himself, but it was, I believe, Harrison Goddard that was able to pick the ball from a DTH attack. But I will have to say that for the sheer amount of hits he took, and also because he liked one of my tweets on Twitter, it has to be Matt Gitter. I think, first of all, he's shown that, he was considering retiring this year, especially after COVID prevented the full top league in Japan. But, he's still got it. He had fantastic accuracy. He missed one kick and was then subbed off afterwards, which I thought was a bit harsh. You missed one kick. And then
you missed one! Get it together, Matt!
Get out of here! You should have retired! But no, he took hits, he took knocks, he was fantastic. And so I say credit where it's due. Matt Gitter really impressed me.
Well, I mean, when you're undefeated at the top of the table, the standards are high, guys. Like,
oh yeah.
Matt, Derek, I want you to go last because I want you to stew. I want you to boil over. I want you to hear some of the stuff we have to say before you let at it about some of the things you saw.
Hopefully, listening to the show by the time I get to talk then.
I'm going very quickly because what worked well. I think the backline did a very good job handling the high ball, especially when LA was doing such a good job kicking. I think that they did a pretty good job with that. What needs improving? Watching a team like the Giltinis, Toronto's scramble defense needs to kick it up a notch. I think that Stu made a good point about composure. The Giltinis had 6 line breaks compared to the Arrows 1, and it really showed that the Arrows had a hard time gelling together after a line break and kind of holding back the waves. I mean, their centers are young. I mean, Detroit and Lesage are both young guys. So, it's going to take time for them to still, it's only been 7 games that they've played together. that's still not a whole lot. So they still need time, and there's got to be support from the whole team, but it just did not look good. All it took was a good run, and everything just seemed to be discombobulated. So I think that's something that they really need to improve on. My personal player of the match, Paul Cellini, became the first Arrow to make over 250 tackles. So Paul, congratulations. That is an amazing achievement for the franchise. I think that he was a kind of a constant on defense, and he's just a piece of timber. He's so big and thick, and you almost never see him getting tackled dominantly. Like, he just does not give much up. And I think that in a world where locks are evolving into these horsemen, and everyone wants your lock to be Maro Toje with the offloading skills of a Fijian, I think that there's something to be said about Paul Cellini just absolutely being a piece of lumber and giving it his all. My standout players on the other side, I talked about Corey Thomas before. I was pretty happy with his performance. Luke Burton, though, came into this 12 jersey after Billy Meeks, who I said was going to have a big season before the season started. Broken orbital bone. He's been, if anyone wants a good follow on Instagram, Billy Meeks is a really good one. It shows a lot about what the Giltinis are doing, and he's just a funny guy. But like, he's gonna be eating soup and liquids for a little bit of time. Like, the guy's gonna be out for some time. So Luke Burton stepped in and I think had a very strong game. Kind of being that second receiver, which is always kind of fun with a deadly backline like what the Giltinis have. So liked what I saw out of Luke, and good to see his versatility, because he played, mostly 10 with San Diego. So again, fun to see him play. All right, Derek.
Let loose.
You're unhinged. You're off the leash.
You guys are making this sound like I'm about to like roast the Arrows or something here, like, which isn't really.
No, but a good Derek is a fired up Derek. I'm trying to pump you up, buddy.
Yeah. Kind of a weird game, really, eh? Guys, like, when you really think back on it, it was.
I think the way it ended by the couple minutes being called off because of thundostorm.
Yeah, that was the perfect ending.
Perfect. It's like the cherry on the cake of that was hot mess of a game.
Yeah, it's like the game getting called off due to lightning with clear sunny skies and a game starting like an hour later. Anyways, when did the Austin Nola game start? Was it an hour, 2 hours later? Right?
Maybe 2 hours.
The lightning didn't last long. It was just like Thor was like, I've had enough of this, and like, we're just gonna.
Thor, famed Arrows fan.
But yeah, Thor is a huge Arrows fan. So was Hawkeye, apparently. It's a little terrible Avengers joke.
I don't know. I made quite a good joke about having maybe Stephen Amell do a little bit of work with the Arrows.
Yeah, but he's green.
That was actually my older brother's idea.
But he's green, though.
Yeah, but the show he's on is Arrow.
Called Arrow, yeah. I mean, there's a lot of like we need I was gonna say there's a lot of like Arrow characters, but do we have to go after like fighter pilot characters? Like, do we get like should Tom Cruise come and make fly like an Avro Arrow in a promo or something? Yeah, I don't know. It's just
get
terrible idea.
Tom Cruise.
Well done.
All right, you guys don't like Top Gun.
I don't think the marketing budget allows it.
Allows for Tom Cruise.
I'm indifferent about Top Gun.
Avro,
more of a cocktail kind of guy.
Yeah. Well, hey, I mean, if the MLR gets big enough, where we can
Speaking of cocktails,
hey, I didn't even think of that, Stu. Thanks, buddy.
All right. Anyways, enough of this nonsense. All right. So, yeah, like this game was kind of fascinating, both for the lightning and for the weirdness, but also because I don't really think the 43-16 score really like reflects the game all that much. I think, as both of you guys kind of alluded to, there was the play toward the end of the first half where it looked like Manuel Diana scored a try. From the TV camera angles, it definitely looked like he dotted down, grounded the ball, and it was just like, there's kind of one of those plays where there's a mess of bodies and maybe the ref didn't see it, and if he didn't see it, I can kind of understand why he wouldn't award it if he didn't see it. But at this, you know what I mean? But at the same time, I guess the criticism of that was the ref in the right position? But I don't know. It's kind of one of those, like, it is what it is, right? But
I wish there was just a phone, like someone just had an iPhone sitting there and they could just call have a match official in the like broadcasting booth, just like doesn't say anything.
Yeah.
I think there's a big call for TMOs, especially after this weekend.
See, here's the thing though, like TMO is expensive. Like that's not a cheap.
Oh yeah.
Number. So like you can't do it, and it's like if you can't do it in every stadium.
But this league also wasted money on a Las Vegas weekend extravaganza
that didn't have
like
TMOs. So
that's what I'm saying is where they wasted money on a weekend in Las Vegas. Why would we not then try and put something like that money, have it sponsored by like Mint Mobile and get someone on board? Like I feel like that
because Ryan Reynolds is one of the like owners of it Mint or is it?
I'm a big Ryan Reynolds fan. But I'm just saying that like, yeah, it's expensive, but like if we want this league to succeed, like we can't just say, oh, it's expensive. Hey, let's do a weekend in Vegas and let's have that, give it a go. Like money is being spent other places and it's not being successful. So why are we not taking the build up and control of the league?
You need to be in every stadium too, though. Like you need to actually be able to do it, right? Like look at even like the broadcasts and stuff, like camera angles and stuff are like limited too, and you need another extra.
Yes,
there's a lot into having a TMO that doesn't necessarily. I'm not saying fair. Like there's a lot that goes into it. Like I get why the league, but it's if you can't do it at every game, then you shouldn't. But so I'm just trying to be like I don't want to just bash a ref for not giving the try to Diana.
It's because you're a nice guy, Derek.
Yeah, exactly.
I'll bash them.
This pandemic has torn down my soul.
That's the thing, though. It's like you have cameras, so it's like you can kind of see on TV where it looks like you grounded it. But if the ref can't see it, like it's just, and maybe the criticism of the ref at that point is just, was he in the right position? You can make that argument, but like, hey, if there's no TMO, there's nothing you can do about it. And in all honesty, the argument of having TMO only ever comes up when like there's a bad call. No one's ever refed a good game and was like, that needed some TMO in that game. But like it's always right. But it's like there is that's just the way it is. And I mean, like we saw, being hockey fans and stuff, we saw like what the absolute complete overcorrection that the NFL or that the NHL went with one bad offside call, and everyone hates it. So you can but whatever. But I agree that should have been a try. It should have been maybe in the world where there is a TMO, maybe it is a try. But unfortunately, that's not the world that the MLR lives in right now. So Diana maybe scores a try. It doesn't count. LA wins a questionable scrum penalty immediately after.
Oh, I don't think that's questionable. I think that was a horrible, horrible reffing decision.
Well, yeah, then that would make the call questionable.
Questionable means that there's might be a little bit of he might have been right.
All right.
Wrong.
All right. I'll hand it over to Dan to yell at refs. I don't yell at refs.
Sorry. I'm sorry, Derek. I'm wasting your time. I'll give you some more time.
No.
You got this, buddy.
Podcast, right? You're supposed to talk, man. But yeah. Bad. Yeah, that's next scrum call. That hurt. But I think that Diana try, that makes the game 10-10. Right? Assuming Adams converts it, but whatever. That either makes the game 10-8 or 10-10. And then so that changes, and then LA comes up the field, and that's when Gaston Cortez gets that yellow card for his offside. That was also kind of impeding Harrison Goddard from passing the ball back to a teammate, and in that area of the pitch, that's going to be considered a cynical foul. And honestly, Cortez needs to know better than to do that. Been a tough start for his Arrows career. I mean, he's he had the red card in the game against Rugby ATL. He's missed 2 games due to suspension as a result of that, the bizarre red card that no one's actually seen. And then, to come back in your first game and you do this, so you're already down, I guess, based on when that red card happened, like you're already down, I guess, 22 minutes Gaston Cortez-less so far in his Arrows career, plus the full 280 minutes in the games that he did miss. And like with the depth that the Arrows have in the front row right now, not that it's a lack of quality, but it's certainly a lack of like quantity, like physical just bodies in the front row. And then, we saw like Liam Murray got loaned from the Houston SaberCats to play 1 game because they needed a guy to play prop because like Atkinson's hurt, Ings hurt, Brower's still at home in Toronto. Right. And now it's like Quattrin had to leave this game in the 13th minute for Mick Rogers played the rest of it. So like the front row is just kind of hurting for like just bodies at this point in time. Not that there isn't a lack of quality there. It's just like you need some guys, and it's like you can't like you need Cortez. We need Cortez on the pitch. So like I think like that kind of has to stop. But that was the ultimate turning point of this game, right? Is that LA did, again, same thing that I said about Utah. LA did what every good team should do. And that's Toronto got a yellow card for like, I guess, a dumb, cynical play. Make it hurt. And they made it hurt in the biggest way possible. They put up 21 points in 10 minutes. There was obviously, they took full advantage of the fact that there was only 7 forwards in the pack. Charlie Abel, Blake Rogers, Mahe Valenu just steamrolled the Arrows pack, pushed them clean over the line. Easiest try Adam Ash has ever scored in his life, maybe with the exception of 2 weeks ago when they did the exact same thing against Seattle. So that starts it. You come out in the second half, just clinical precision with the attack, gets Ryberg wide open on the wing with an overlap. Only 14 guys, ball in John Ryberg's hands. He's not going to miss many of those from there. Come back right after. There's, I think it's Giddo puts up a high ball, and Ryberg's kick chase is unreal. Just wraps up Tukale immediately, gets over the ball. I think him and McNulty got over the ball. Next line out, and Cottrell just goes right through the Arrows D again, right? And I think that was the thing, though. Like, honestly, like looking at this game, and if you take out that yellow card, right? You take out that yellow card where they scored 21 points up a man, right? 43 minus 21 is 22. I'm bad at math. Help me out here, guys. 22. And
sounds about right.
Yeah, right. So you do that. Diana's try counts. 23-22 Arrows. Right? Like, I mean, and honestly, like, yeah, if like, you know what I mean? Like, it's a bunch of ifs, really. It's a bunch of ifs.
Yeah, and counterpoints.
It's a bunch of ifs, but like you kind of look at that. It's like when it was 15 on 15, it was 23-16, 15 on 15. Right. Which isn't terrible, but it was like, that's when LA took advantage of that. Even not saying that Diana scored that, even not saying that Diana try shouldn't have counted, say the ref made the right call on that. If you take that side of the argument, still like 22-16 doesn't look as bad as 43-16. But I think too, like you look at the rest of the stat line, it is really pretty even, other than, as I think Dan, did you mention line breaks? You mentioned line breaks, right, Dan?
Line breaks, yeah.
Yeah. So line breaks, as you said, 6-1 in favor of LA. Almost everything else is pretty even. Carries 126 to 125 for LA. Difference.
Yeah, but carrying meters, they had like 200 more meters. That's the killer.
But Dan, you know where those carrying meters come from, though, right? The line breaks. The discrepancy on the meters. That's where.
Yeah, exactly.
But even here's the thing, like even with the line breaks, gain line made percentage, Arrows 80, LA 77. So Arrows actually made the gain line on LA's defense more than LA did. Kicks and kick meters pretty even. Like the Arrows have more meters, LA has one more kick. Turnovers conceded, LA has 10, Toronto has 14. So that's that's a spot, that's a bit of a gap. That's enough to turn the tide of a game. Tackles made, not too far off, 135 to LA, 154 to Toronto. Tackle made percentage, LA had 91. As we mentioned on the last podcast, that's like what Jamie Cudmore said, like that's the goal of every team. You hit 90 with your tackle percentage, you're probably in shape. The Arrows not far behind though, they were at 87,
which is better than what they've been doing lately.
Yeah. No, like like that's what I'm saying. Like the Arrows didn't play bad. They got torched with 14 guys for 10 minutes.
Yeah. Okay. Counterpoint to that is that I'm having a hard time blaming it just on the fact that they were down a guy, and I know that's not what you're doing.
No. It's,
because the Arrows have played fine. Like I think about the first game
you need to,
against Atlanta. You need to.
I completely agree with you, Dan. Like that's like, and like you need, just because you're down a guy, you need to play defense when you're down a guy. You still need to play defense. Like it doesn't go away. You need to play better defense when you're down a guy. Arguably, it just didn't happen. I think like LA, we have guys like Gidell and Goddard. Like they loved that quick ball, man. Like they were like you said, the scramble defense, right? Goddard, like the scramble defense is there, but part of the reason the scramble defense isn't as good is because Goddard never gave them time to reset.
Exactly.
It never happened. It's relentless, right? It's like sharks smelling blood in the water. The other big stat though, if you want something like to genuinely be like pick apart in this game, what do you think have you guys seen what the Arrows lineout percentage was in this game?
I know that they won 8 and LA won 12. That's all I know.
You know what the percentage? What would you guess watching that?
It was bad, so I'm going to assume it was like 60%.
Ooh, that's actually really close. So 62%.
Oh,
62%.
That's still not good.
No,
you know what? And
not good. No one said that was good, Stu. No one said.
I think back to like Toronto's like losses from 2019 and their loss to even go back to Atlanta this year and Colorado. And Utah this year, the lineout was always a big focus. They were getting dominated in the lineout.
Yeah, and like
scrum's fine. It seems to just be a Canadian rugby problem that the lineout is always.
The scrum was 100%. It did get pushed over for the try, but that was only with 7 guys in the pack, right? The scrum's good, but
or with Giuseppe Tatois at 8-man or something like that.
I think it was it? I thought it was. I think it was Lesage.
I think it was somebody. Yeah,
someone was there.
So we've picked this apart now, Derek. Who was your man of the match for the Arrows?
Oh, dude, it's Rumball. Rumball's been the best player on this team the entire time, and if it's not Rumball, it's Tommy Delavega, and if it's not him, it's Manuel Diana. Like it's the back.
All right.
Back row's the best players.
All right, okay.
I completely agree with you that Paul Cialini had a great game. He had the most ruck maul arrivals on the team. Della Vega, 100% tackling again. Like the dude does not miss tackles at all.
My only thing is that he looks so sad. Like last year, he looked like he was having fun. Yeah, this year, it looks like this is like
he was winning
work.
He was winning last year. That's changed. That's the big difference, right?
Okay, and who impressed you from LA? I mean, we've mentioned a couple of guys. Is there anybody else that we haven't mentioned that you really were like, yes?
Yeah, you know what? I think, man, I think LA's been given like, I think a lot of talk with LA has been like the stars on the back line, how star-studded this is. But the way that this game played out, this was kind of all about the forwards, right? You mentioned Corey Thomas, unfortunately got hurt after one of those line breaks. Unfortunately,
I think he got the broadcaster curse too. Like they were like, "Oh, he's having another great run," and he's like, "Oh."
It was also you. I believe you tweeted that he was playing great, and then immediately.
Oh yeah.
Don't blame the
my fault.
Don't blame the commentators for this one.
The Rouge Rugby curse.
Yeah, there you go.
Someone with a microphone curse him.
Yeah, that's
Whoops.
the way
And we just play.
the way it always goes. It's like every kicker that's ever been like he's playing like, oh man, he hasn't missed a kick all day today, wide left. I think someone said too, it's like Robbie Petzer this weekend was setting up for like a kick in front of the posts, and he was like, oh, like this should be an easy kick, and then it's like just takes off wide, and it's like Petzer just bows his head, and it was like, it's the commentator's fault, man. Don't worry.
We're not going to talk. Brian Ray has been on MLR's case about this new kicking rule, so we won't bring that up.
He got Petzer gave him some
fuel
argument.
Sorry, Derek, I distracted you.
So did Joe Peterson. Joe Peterson kind of provided. I think we'll talk about that.
Oh yeah.
I'll talk about that later.
But yeah, like the forwards, I thought everybody in the front row, to be honest, I thought was really good. Charlie Abel, I thought in particular was excellent, and he made his tackles. He got to the rucks. He was good in the scrum too. But he also was like. He was like the link for like John Ryberg's try, right? Like which was kind of crazy because it was like, if you watch the Ryberg try again, the passes are like Goddard to Blake Rogers, who skips a back. I can't remember which back it was. I think it was like Ashley Cooper or something. So the prop skips the back to throw it to the other prop, and then the other prop sends it to the wing to Ryberg, and he scored. So I thought Abel played really well. Harry McNulty, he got to a lot of rucks, came up with a couple steals on his own. So yeah, like I thought like the pack did really well in this game, and I think like I think like they didn't necessarily have to rely, like, I mean, the backs obviously did their job and everything, but with how, I guess, with like a little bit of the conditions and the way that this game went, it became kind of forward heavy. I thought the best back in this game, to be honest, was probably John Ryberg. He obviously had the try, but he had the try. He helped out on the big turnover to get to the third try during the 10 minutes. And then, and he also made 14 tackles, which was second on the team, something like that. Right. So he made 14 on the wing too, right? Which is,
yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, that's a lot. I know Jojo on NOLA kind of did that a couple weeks ago. So, but like, yeah, like he had a great work rate and stuff. I think it was one of his best games that I've seen him play, like just an all around game. So that was really plus. I mean, and that was him, like, what I mean? He's stacked up against like Mirez and Montero, right? So I thought he did really well too. There was a lot. Like, I mean, Stu's favorite player, Ryan James, did well off the bench as always. But I was actually like, I still think that LA I don't think LA is like infallible or anything right now. I mean, they are winning. They're winning big, but as I kind of said, it was like they did what every good team should do, which is you take advantage. Like, if teams are going to give you cards, like, make it hurt, right? And they did that, and they were clinical for that. They were clinical for that 10 minutes, and that's the 10 minutes that changed the tide of the game. But the Arrows still were able to, like, generate a few things on them. Like you said, Montero had a nice try.
Yeah.
When like the Arrows were able to get them to give up a lot of penalties. So Adams was it was 10-9 for a while. Adams was able to keep them in that game for a long time just by, slotting some penalties and stuff. I think the one interesting thing though, too, you kind of touched on some of the new rule changes. This is the second game in the row where the Arrows haven't elected to take a scrum penalty, which is I'm sure is something that we never thought we would be discussing like a year ago, when like the scrum being like the most dominant aspect of their game. And it's interesting because it's like they're either taking points or going to lineouts. And as we kind of went with earlier, like the lineout has not been clicking at all, right? So like I don't know. I think like maybe
it was just the conditions in this game.
Yeah,
maybe they weren't super confident with the field and how muggy and wet everything was, that the scrum wouldn't collapse as much.
Twice in a row though, because that was like against Old Glory though. That was like pristine conditions in Old Glory.
Yeah,
like in BC, not in Old Glory. That's a weird sentence.
I do want to go back to something you mentioned about You mentioned a couple players, Derek, that I think that are important to LA, but not just LA, but like MLR and also American rugby. Like guys like Blake Rogers. I remember when he was, the first year when it was Glendale, he was a starter. The second year they added some more players and he was kind of put on the bench. And then last year he was a bench player. And to see him start in this game and have a great game, it just shows the evolution of a player. When the first year of MLR was around, the level wasn't there, so he was definitely a starter. And then he kind of lost his way being on the bench and maybe starting some games against teams like Austin.
Yeah.
And now with a new team, he's really kind of trying to put his hand back into, I'm still here. I'm an American eligible player. I'm homegrown. Let's show that I can play. And he had a good game. And same thing with John Ryberg. Like that 2019 season he had was just insane. He was.
Sorry, yeah, I think that's the interesting thing though too, right? Like there's a lot that's been made of the foreign players on LA.
Exactly.
This was a game where, like you said, like Rogers played really well. Corey Thomas got the man of the match despite only even playing a half, really. And like you said, Ryberg was there too. DTH Vandermerver. He played well. He had some nice runs, kind of mixing it up with Rumball a little bit too. That was kind of fun.
Yeah, it was Rumball, and he was getting in a lot of people's faces. It was pretty funny.
Yeah, it kind of got to a little bit of, obviously we haven't even touched on it, that hit from Dennis on Montero too, that was pretty hot.
Red cardish.
Yeah, like that could have been.
Yeah. That leads back to the whole having a TMO for these kind of situations, kind of thing.
Yeah.
But
I'm not saying
it is what it is.
I'm not saying a TMO would be a bad thing in MLR. I'm just like, I don't think it's a feasible thing at this stage of MLR, even if you're spending money on other things that Dan doesn't think you might need to spend money on. But like, it's
like, listen, all I'm saying is that, like, I'm not asking them to have a giant, every stadium needs to have a giant screen for the ref to watch it. But like, you look at like the Women's Six Nations, you had Ireland versus Wales, two unions that are not doing well financially, and they made it work that they had a TMO.
Yeah. I mean,
I'm just saying that if you want to take this, if you're going to fiddle around with new laws and you're gonna get these big sponsors and tout them around and stuff like that, let's put our money where our mouth is and make the rugby a little bit better. I like you made some great points, Derek, about how it's going to be difficult to make that happen just because of like camera angles and this and that, and like you're going to need more cameras to show every angle. You're right, but I'm saying that the fact that other than like, did they have it in the 2019 championship game? Like, I can't even remember.
Here's the thing though. It's like, I think they did that for like the, definitely in 2018. I think they did that for like the final rounds.
Yeah.
My personal opinion on that though, is if you don't play with it all year, I don't think you should have it for the playoffs either.
Yeah, no, that's not what I'm saying. But like, I'm like,
yeah. But it's like, that's what I mean though. It's like, I don't think, but even with that, that's what I mean. I think they want it. I think they would want it, but I don't think you can, because I think maybe you can shell out to do it for one game, 3 games, maybe you can do it for all the playoff games, but it's like, I don't know if, I don't think that.
And then unfortunately they're going to have a tag it's going to make them look unprofessional for a period of time. And I get it. Money's tough right now in a COVID world, but it's just going to be something that's going to loom over them.
I don't necessarily think that. Like, I don't think it'll make them look like unprofessional, right?
Well, why not? Because this is a very important part of like the fact that rugby relies so heavily on it, and because it is a moment of quick moments and there's so many bodies that are playing this game. I think that it is important part of the game, and every other professional league, I bet they've been around for much longer, has it. It is going to be something that outside bodies are going to look at and go, oh, that try was disallowed, like, in the top league or the Pro 14 that would have been allowed, right? Like it's going to be something that foreign fans are going to look at and go, well, that's kind of bush league.
I mean, I like maybe, but I mean, like I said though,
I'm sure that's not a high priority for the league.
I think
that's not. They're not going to wake up in the middle of the night going, "Oh, some Irish kid in Dublin got mad at this."
I mean, the issue though that like we're bringing it up is because it's like there might have been some TMO things in this game that maybe could have swung some momentum and stuff. No one ever brings
and player safety. That's other thing too. The player safety part is also
player safety part is important. But like, yeah, I mean, hey,
listen, we're not going to take too much time out of it. We got to move on. The Arrows have another.
Ultimately, no one ever brings up TMO unless there's a bad call. That's the only time TMOs ever get brought up.
But that's why they get brought up.
Exactly. That's why they get brought up. That's why you have it. That's why you have it. All right, guys, we got to move on soon. The Arrows have their next game against Seattle, who is a equally hungry team, got their first win. Derek, you're going to talk about that. So hopefully the things that we mentioned are fixed. Hopefully some of the guys that took some knocks. Mike Shepard had a scary situation. Andrew Quatron is going to be an important one to watch because he was taken out early in the game. Rumball was hit upon, was down for a good period of time. So we'll see how these bumps and bruises kind of clear themselves out. All right, guys. Well, we're going to look at our other games this week, and I am actually first on the docket, and I'm going to be talking about, and it actually works because I wonder if, Stu, you wrote this in terms of how the games were played in terms of chronological order, but if you didn't, then this is coincidental.
Exactly how he wrote it. Yes.
There you go. Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
That is.
All right. Then I am talking to you fine folks about the NOLA Austin game. I felt bad for these teams because they kind of went onto this pitch that was not in great condition right after that Arrows game where, there might have been a little bit of rain as well, because you can kind of tell in the first, it was like first period at the time that there were a lot of issues with handling of the ball. And the first score was a crazy kicking situation where Mason Mack got the ball after Cowley, made a great play. So it was just a weird situation. If you look at the stats, it was another performance by Austin where they were defending a lot of the territory. Just pulling the stats up quickly. Austin had 57% of the territory, but the NOLA Gold had lots of opportunities. You look at it, they had a lot of control of the lineout, which a lot of their plays were kind of based off of, and Austin had to do a lot more tackling. But again, Austin had more carrying meters. They had more line breaks. They gave up way more penalties. And NOLA had more possession time. But when I look at that, really what it comes down to is NOLA did not do a good job of getting out of their end. Austin was kind of relentless for a good portion of the game. Canadian Kyle Bailey, unfortunately, looks like he broke his nose in the game, which was not great. Eric Howard had a serviceable game coming off the bench. Regan O'Gorman spent the majority of the game at lock because the Gilgronis lost both of their locks in the game. So, not ideal, but he kind of said, "Hey guys, I'm here. I'm going to play," and he played pretty well. So good for you, Regan. The only other Canadian that played, Cole Davis, was not used. So that was kind of a shame. I love watching Cole Davis play, and I think that he deserves more time. So what this game comes down to is Austin took advantage of their opportunities. Mac Mason had a great game, kicked really well, and I mean, you saw it on that last play of the game. He kind of kicked that ball perfectly, and Roderick Waters, who's had a good couple weeks, finished off the play well. And what can you say about that? Austin is on a roll. They're starting to show why everyone thought that they were going to be one of the top teams in the league. NOLA, they've been really inconsistent this year, and I really think that those injuries in the back line are starting to really kind of come together. Also, Holden Younger is freaking hilarious. What did he call the guy about the God, what was it?
Numb nuts or something?
Numb nuts. That is a underutilized chirp, and I'm going to start using it from now on. When I heard that, I belly laughed so hard. My wife thought that like something was wrong. It was so funny. Numbnuts. Amazing.
Man, yeah, great. Andy Ellis in the New York game too. Like that dude should just be mic'd up. Like forget like being near the ref. I just want a mic on Andy Ellis for the entire game. We'll talk about that later. There's some fun. There's some comedic gold. That's more important to me than TMO. Is get ref
mics
on
hot mics
all the time. Ref, yeah. I just want to hear. I want to hear the boys chirp a little bit. It's funny.
All right. Well, Derek, you are up next. Utah versus Seattle. This is quite the spicy game.
Yeah. So you guys remember how last week I mentioned if you're losing, do something, change something up, wear like different shorts with different kit. Like, right?
Yep.
Yeah. That's all I'm saying, right? Houston wore yellow instead of black this week. Won. Seattle goes green shirt, blue shorts. Losing streak's done. Right? So circling back to Toronto. 0-3 in white shorts, 1-0 in blue shorts. So if I'm the Arrows equipment manager, blue shorts next week. But that's besides the point. So Seattle takes my advice and they end up winning. I'm assuming they all listen to this podcast, so I'm assuming they took that advice there and got that idea. But this was a really, really good game from Seattle. They did a lot of things really well. There was this, set piece was good. They were able to control some territory. Possession. It was just, one of those like really like just kind of overall like hard fought game. It was Hadding had a lot of, strong carries, created some big line breaks, for like that kind of, led the way a little bit. Yeah. And like, it was just, Duratalo had the huge line break to actually start. So they were finding like their forwards were finding ways to get through Utah's defense. Aaron Matthews too. He also picked up his, I think it's his first try, right? So that's nice to see him kind of getting a nice little stamp on the game. I thought Nakai Penny, if we're going to talk Canadians, Nakai Penny was awesome. Just getting to a lot of breakdowns, coming away with some steals. So that was brilliant to see. Hagen Schulte continues to be just absolutely impressive with the boot too on Utah. Kind of interesting going with for the 10 jersey, because I guess Ben Siema was absent because he was at his brother's wedding, so they went with Kieran Joyce. I thought he did well kind of in that kicking game and stuff. Looked better. Sears Duru I thought was really solid too, other than his yellow card, but that, it is what it is. And like, it's interesting because it's like, I think like that kind of looked like a game that's kind of Seattle needed to kind of grind out. Utah has like a pretty good scrum, they've been showing to have a pretty good scrum this year. And, Seattle was able to kind of one up them like during the game too. Utah had more territory and possession. This was another game where the team with the most line breaks too ends up winning, right? It's, the one thing though, like it is kind of the one thing like that was kind of in this game. There was a lot of line breaks from both teams, really, and you can kind of tell because there's only like Seattle had 78% tackles made and Utah had 82, which, when the team with the most tackle percentage is at 82, that's going to be a game that has a lot of line breaks and stuff. Both teams, like I said, like Seattle's set piece, the scrum was solid. Lineout was all right, but it wasn't like Utah kind of allowed them to get away with it. Fraser Hurst kind of seems to be settling into his role as the starter with Baska out. He did have a yellow card for an intentional knock on. It just as Ferris was trying to pull it out of a ruck, he just swiped his arm, knocked it on. The other, I guess, the really one noteworthy thing from this is the incident just before halftime where Whippy, tackled JP Smith near the touchline. It looked like initial contact kind of looked like his arm came up and hit him in the head first, and then it was just a like kind of the follow through and like just the way Smith actually goes down. He ends up hitting his head pretty hard off the turf, and was immediately unconscious. And I think Whitby and Fraser Hurst both kind of had to jump up to go like attend because Hurst was up in the sin bin at this time, like kind of went up to kind of try to help initially. Um and then so like it was a little bit of a scary moment. They got the Utah kind of went down, took a knee and was like praying during like a lengthy stoppage of play. So hopefully Smith is doing well, and hopefully he has a speedy recovery and we're able to kind of see him back on the pitch soon. But overall, kind of a bit of a scary incident at the halftime, but Seattle was able to get the W for him.
So my question to you, Derek, is this is the Arrows opposition next week.
Yes.
Which Seattle team did you get the vibe from? Is this the championship winning team, or is this the Arrows team? Like, is this the Arrows team that they lost to in the 2019 playoffs, or is this the Seattle team that they beat in Seattle, last year with the boot from Sam Malcolm? Where are they? Like, if those are the two barometers, are they in the middle? Are they closer to one or the other? What do you think going into next week? Where are the Arrows' chances when you look at that kind of barometer of like Seattle teams?
Yeah, kind of interesting situation, really, because it's like I don't think anyone expected the Arrows to be 1-3. Going into this game, and like Seattle kind of coming off a win. I said that it'll be interesting. Lineouts will be interesting in this game, because both teams are kind of bad at it, or struggled in the last couple of weeks. I'll have to go back and check Seattle's overall, I guess, over the so that'll be interesting. I think Seattle's realistically probably closer to the team that the Arrows beat in 2020. To kind of thoroughly beat, which in all honesty, that Arrows game against Seattle in 2020 is probably one of the best complete games the Arrows have ever played.
Mm-hmm.
But so that was useful. Like, it'll be interesting. That's going to be a game that's going to be in Atlanta at like 10:30 a.m. too. So wake up, have your breakfast, and like hit the pitch. So that I mean, who knows? That'll be interesting, I'm sure. So that game, I guess, depending on when Seattle travels, that's going to be like a 7:30 a.m. game to them.
Yeah,
it's going to be weird. Acclimatization and all that. So, but yeah, so that'll be interesting. I think Toronto can 100% beat Seattle. I think based on like what we've seen this year, it'll be interesting. It's going to be interesting though, because Seattle's made some big signings, and it'll be
when are those going to start rolling in? Manoa and
it's like Semu Manoa, Yamada. I mean, even like Mongola, like he looked pretty good when he came in relief too. So like that'll be interesting. I think like they do have a lot of good. I'll be interested to see obviously what fly half comes to the table. If it's Seema's I think a big difference maker for Seattle, despite the fact that the one game he hasn't played is the game that they actually did win. Like you kind of said though too, Dan, I know George Barton, I think George Barton's looked pretty good so far this season too. He's Seattle really kind of used him. They were running, I think it was the let me check. Yeah, the Duratolo try. Real nice line from Barton, and then like a crisp like inside ball back to Duratolo, like that creates like the hole and stuff. So he's been doing well with that, and that's, as I know, Dan, you've kind of mentioned, right? Like that center matchup, but Barton and Neal versus Detroit and Lesage is going to be a big one.
That's going to be a big one. Yeah, even on Tom Avina's try too, Barton was
inside ball to him,
served him that nice one, and he did the rest. Not going to give Barton too much credit there, but he was still involved very much in that play.
But that's what your job is, though, as that inside center, right? Is you're that second, kind of, I guess, that second receiver and stuff. You got to be able to find like those holes
for sure.
So I think it would be going to be interesting, right? I think really that game will, as it always seems to kind of do with the Arrows, like if the Arrows can slow down your quick ball at the ruck, Like if like you look at like Old Glory where like Rumball and De La Vega just did damage and just kind of had their way with the right, like that helps. And like, in this game, Rumball and De La Vega played great, but like so did McNulty, and Goddard was, so did McNulty, so did Abel, so did all the other guys on LA that were hitting rucks hard.
Mhm.
And they were able to, like, Goddard was able to keep that quick ball, keep that pace that LA likes to play at. Yeah, man. I mean, I think this is gonna be. I think this will be a fascinating game.
For sure.
Frankly, I think there's gonna be like, yeah, there's gonna be a lot of keys. I think honestly, like looking back at the Giltinis game, if the Arrows can like sort out their line out and stop taking cards, like I think like they're gonna be fine. I haven't seen anything from the Arrows that I'm super concerned about this. Well, maybe yeah to get that line out up, but like I think it'll be a good game going into next week. Though.
Okay. All right, Stu, tell us about the Houston San Diego game.
Well, if you haven't seen it already, this was probably the game of the weekend. See, Dan's already off to go watch that game right now. Now, I've got to say, this was a fantastic game to watch. This was an absolute thriller. First of all, a SaberCats team that can score, never mind win. Did you expect this last week? Because I sure didn't. There were some fantastic tries on display, as well as some major, I think the best phrase to use is brain farts. I mean, Cecil Africa has, one of the most capped sevens players of all time. He should know you can't play the ball on the floor. And that led to a penalty try to Houston and a yellow card for him. And when you look at the final score, it could have been the sense of maybe that could have made a difference. However, the Legion also missed a number of conversions as well, which they'll be kicking themselves for, not at least the last conversion as well of the game. But this was fantastic by the SaberCats. I think that I've got to mention Matthias Freya's try, which was the last try for the SaberCats, but that was just a stunning bit of teamwork. Robbie Povey kicking crossfield kick and then pass back behind the player for Matthias to score. That was just fantastic to see. Then, of course, there was Peterson's try, which was, I think he had the advantage from an earlier offside or high tackle or whatever, and was able to then capitalize on poor handling by the SaberCats to then score, not under the post, but next to the post, as Brian Ray was thrilled to bits about.
What did you think of it?
I thought that, so the commentators brought up that it was a good tactical display in the sense of it's right next to the post, and that means that the 60-second kick clock goes into effect. Now, of course, Peterson was be able to kick it perfectly fine, but this is, the stage of like winding down the clock. That's a 60-second break for his teammates. It's 60 seconds that Houston don't have the ball. And from a tactical point, it's great. It does also, though, lead back into this whole conversation of if it's off by less than a meter from being a 7-pointer, and it's kicked so easily to be a 7-pointer, do we really need to have the 7-pointer? Which I think is what Brian's argument was about. From my point of view, I've got to agree with the commentators. I thought tactically, very clever, very intelligent play. As long as the ball's not in your opposition's hands, it should be a positive for you. But going from positives to negatives, I have to talk about somebody who had possibly the worst start to an MLR game, which was Mr. Chris Robshaw, who, after serving his ban from the Barbarians game, came on. And, I'm not saying he played badly. It's, of course, the outcome from the game that was negative for him, which was that it was announced through his and San Diego social media that he has dislocated his shoulder. They're at the time of recording, I haven't seen anything, but they said they are currently waiting on a scan. But then again, I don't think they would reveal how long he's going to be off anyway, especially compared to the Premiership, which would have let you know as soon as possible how many months they're out for. Ultimately it was, sad to see that he comes on and then gets injured, and then at best he won't be around for the next few games. At worst, this may be a season ender. But he does have another season already signed with Sandy.
Is that how long? I'm not a doctor. Is that how long a dislocated shoulder is? Like,
well, I'll let you know that I'm not a doctor either. But obviously, age is a factor as well. Some recoveries take longer. It's also there's a difference between being fixed and being match ready as well, and it may be an issue with that. But again, at the very least, all we know is that he's out and about moving, and once those scan details come through, he can hopefully get started working on rehab, and hopefully we can see him again on the pitch this MLR season. Standout players, as I said, Matthias Freya was fantastic as well. Robbie Poovey from fullback was fantastic. Like I said, his crossfield kick set up the try for the Sabercats as well, but he had just had a great kicking game throughout. In fact, it was a very close game. As you can obviously tell by the score, there was only 2 points in it at the end. But I'm just gone through the stats as well. Houston only conceded 8 penalties compared to the Legion's 12. Houston made 352 kick meters compared to Legion's 405. Tackles were pretty close as well. Sabercats 135, Legion 110. There was an inconsistency, is that they say the Sabercats got 3 tries, which is technically correct in that they grounded the ball 3 times, but they obviously got the penalty try as well. Line breaks, Sabercats 7, Legion 9. Lineouts 1, Sabercats 10, Legion 9. Possession, Sabercats 46%, Legion 54%, but obviously it's not just possession, it's what you do with that possession, as Houston clearly proved. I will say from Legion, Travis Larson came on off the bench for the 46th minute, and disappointingly, Nick Hildebrand was on the bench for the Sabercats, but they didn't use him, which was disappointing. But they got the victory, which is something I don't think any of us were expecting last week. So this is a great turnaround for the Sabercats. Getting 2 wins in the season is already good news. I don't think they'll be getting the win next week when they face LA.
Wouldn't that be something? What's the bet odds on Houston beating LA? You know what? That would be the most 2021 MLR season thing to have happen.
Yeah, absolutely. And at the same time, San Diego will have a clash in Utah with no, not Utah. They'll be facing Utah, but they will be in San Diego back at Torero Stadium,
which is amazing. All right, Derek. Well, why don't you tell us about another, I wouldn't say shocker of a game. Like, I'm not surprised by the outcome, but I'm surprised at how it came about. Does that make sense to you guys?
Yeah. I get it.
I thought, it was interesting because I think this, I'll be curious your guys' opinion on it too, but I think this might have been Ben Foden's best MLR game. He was outstanding. The kicking.
I haven't watched the game, so I have no idea.
Oh, well then why are you surprised on how
come?
You just said you were surprised on how it
No, I looked at basically I full stats nerd, and I looked at the stats and I looked at the score, and that's where I got my assumption.
Wow. All right.
I don't even watch the game, guys. I'm that guy.
Yeah.
I watched every other game, not this one.
You're the guy
because it was on
Did
Sunday.
You at least watch the highlights?
No.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, come on, man. That's less than 10 minutes.
You know what?
Anyway, Derek, as you.
All right, Stu.
I'm going to take my headphones out and you guys go ahead and
we're going to have a conversation about it. And Dan will have we should just make up stuff about the game and like talk to Dan about it. But then people
a giant Canadian goose smacked a player. Oh my God, Ben Foden's hair was ruined.
You didn't.
Wow, I can't believe. So you did watch the game.
Yes.
You did watch the game then.
Yeah. So
Go ahead.
Yeah.
I'm distracted. Should go get
Well,
my Switch.
I mean, I guess Dan missed probably Ben Foden's best MLR game. I thought, in Rugby ATL's game last week against Utah, like they used the kicking game to like just masterclass to like control the territory, to control the possession. Van Voot, Skura, Petzer, amazing. And Foden kind of just neutralized that. Like every time he received the ball, he either would kick it back and it would be precise and New York would gain the territory back. He would start a nice little counter attack and run back up, and New York would have possession and a bit of the territory and field position back as well. Just brilliantly controlled the game. I mean, even when Andy Ellis got a yellow card for essentially being hit really hard by Marno Retalingwis and not liking it very much. He kind of like, so he goes off and Foden comes in and plays scrum half for 10 minutes and actually does a pretty good job. And that also led to like, please mic up every ref and all, like mic refs should never come off ever. The ref going to Foden and being like, do you know what the ref going to Mike Lash, brilliant dude, well done. My favorite ref.
Right now. Fantastic.
The ref, going to Ben
He's
Foden.
Actually, a Kiwi ref. So
which is Kiwis have the best senses of humor. That's why this works. And like him going to Foden and being like, "Do you know what you're doing?" Like at the scrum, and having Foden respond with, "Yeah, I played like scrum half in like high school or whatever he said." Was amazing. And like, after Dylan Fawcett left the game too, and Andy Ellis ended up being the captain, they had some fun banter too. I think at one point, like Ellis is trying to like convince him that he's not the scrum half and stuff. There's some hilarious things like that. And I think one of the exchange was too just like a simple like, isn't this a lot of fun? And they both kind of agreed that this game was indeed a lot of fun and was a lot of fun to watch. So like Foden did well. I thought like Samu Tawaki to me was the guy that really turned the tide in this game in New York's favor. The moment he came on, the scrum looked way better. He scored a try following up Dan Hollinshead. Hollinshead had an unreal game too. He was obviously the player of the week. Just finding holes in the defense. A lot of nice, just diced through, just absolutely sliced through ATL's defense for a 7-point try. And there's a lot of that. Also, you got to give the big shout out to Quinn Nawadi, not only scoring his first career MLR try, 100% tackle rate with 6 tackles made. Matt Heaton also played well too. I mean, it's Matt Heaton. Matt Heaton played like Matt Heaton. And that was great to see too. Not quite as funny as Andy Ellis with the referee though. But yeah, like, man, the East
can't have everything.
Yeah, the East is tight. The East is tight, man. It'll be fun. 2-2 teams. It's the top of the conference, so it's like it's completely up for grabs for everybody. Dan, you should.
I've got to say,
because it's hilarious, is what I'm getting at. Watch the game for Mike. Just mic'd up, man. Just watch it for the mic'd up moment.
I will say I did see Quinn's try. So great job, Quinn. Congratulations.
Like nice runs and stuff too. They had I think it was Ellis. It was either Ellis or Hollinshead too. Put up with advantage. Had a nice like cross field kick that was like just out of Nawadi's reach. That could have been.
I don't know. And I have a question for you too. And do you think that Quinn is out of position playing on the wing? Because I've watched him play in a couple games now on the wing. I just feel like his skill set is better suited playing in the center position, just with his size and his passing ability that we've seen with the under-20 team. And I mean, if you want to go back to the Wolfpack, he really didn't show a whole lot of that there, but I just feel like he's got more to offer as a center than on the wing. And maybe it's just because maybe they've got injuries right now on the wing, or they're not fully comfortable with their depth there.
I was gonna say New York's deep at center. I think that's the issue, right? Like the centers in this game too are like tie, right? Like there's like yeah, like
Okay.
yeah, like they just have a lot of centers. Hold on, me.
So it's a good thing that they're obviously finding spots for him to play. So okay.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
like,
All right, guys. Well,
go with that too, though. Like I think this is his best game at wing, too, right? So
Mhm.
like, yeah, that's what I was trying to pull up. So yeah, so New York centers are Will Leonard, Troy Lockyer, Chris Matinoff, Fuatai. Like they're deep at center, and then yeah, Nawadi I think could play center, but he had like he's not playing center right now, obviously. Leonard and Fuatai are the two centers, it looks like at the moment. And I think
surprise Lockyer. Is Lockyer hurt?
I'm not sure. They don't do injury reports, so
Right, because he was a Magic last year. They called him Magic Man. Wasn't that not the thing that they had going on?
but then too though, like to your point though, too, like you're also right in the sense that like they just picked up like Luke Hume, again, or not they picked him up, but he's back again. Kakabalavu is really good too. He played a really great game on the other wing, but I think I don't know, like I kind of like the idea of him at least trying it. It doesn't hurt to add another position to your repertoire. And I mean, like
For sure.
New York has started him all of their games at the wing in the 14.
Yeah.
Right? So I guess they're liking what he's bringing to the table enough to keep starting him, right? So, and I think like this was his best game at winger too. And I mean, why don't we circle back on this conversation at the end of the season and see what we think of.
For
of
sure.
this.
That's right.
I do agree though. He's a great center. So I mean, but I'm curious to see how it works out.
All right, guys. Well, let's finish up with some news, and then we will do our picks for next round. Starting with the sevens invitational in Dubai, Canada finished runner-up in both the men's and the women's. The women lost to France, and the men lost to Argentina. I don't know how you guys feel about it, but I feel like, especially for the men, this is a great kind of showing. They definitely looked a lot more cohesive, and their decision making looked a lot better. Tough final game for the women, but they still looked pretty strong all throughout the tournament. So I'm happy with what I saw.
Yeah, it was, obviously getting to the final and then, just coming short for both teams can be disappointing. Obviously, it's an improvement from last week where the men finished fifth. And, I still say that getting to the final, if this was the Olympics, you get a medal regardless.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's silver. I know everyone prefers the gold, but, nothing to best that for silver. I think the best news that I heard was that these are the transitional jerseys. And
yes,
because I know we were talking about the black one, black and gray maybe didn't go, but these aren't the official sevens jerseys. These are the transitional jerseys. So these,
Rugby Canada said that we'll see
a preview
them in the summer. So I'm assuming with the test matches, with the 15th programs, and then whatever leading up to the Olympics, Macron will ramp it up. And then with MLR, we've actually had a lot of stadium announcements. Rooney announced that they will be using Cochrane Stadium in Jersey City, which is, I believe, in New Jersey, for their first two home games. No fans allowed. LA will be allowing up to 20% attendance from April 24th onwards, which it's so funny. 20% is still 15,000 seats available, which is just that's crazy. And then
that's still,
if LA wants to go
it just puts the scale,
then I'm all for it.
Yeah,
but it's just the scale of it all is that even 20% of their stadium is still more capacity than any other MLR stadium at present.
Yeah,
for sure.
Just ridiculous.
the Coliseum.
And then the Seattle will be allowing up to 25% attendance from May 2nd onwards. 1,000 seats will be what they are capped out at. So I want to ask you guys quickly, which one of these stadium announcements excited you the most?
I mean, I like. It's nice to see that the teams are going to be allowed to have fans back in the limited capacities and stuff. But it's great to see. It's great to see fans kind of back at games. I thought, like, it gives a little bit of an atmosphere. I think you could, if anyone checked out like WrestleMania or whatever on the weekend, because they did that show with some fans. It's like Randy Orton kind of breaking character a little bit when he realizes that there's like an actual crowd cheering for him, was kind of a great little tiny moment. Just because it's like, I think it does bring a lot to like the athletes and stuff and the atmosphere of it. I mean, like at the end of the day, it's, sports are meant to be played in front of people, and like the crowd and the atmosphere and the fans make it special. And like I'm super jealous that your Laura's going to be looking at some MLR games with fans in the crowd, and I'm going to be like, my TV setup's nice, but I'm kind of itching to get back to an actual stadium and stuff soon. But fingers crossed that maybe it'll still happen, but who knows?
For sure. Stu, which one of these fired you up? Which one of these kind of stories kind of really got you excited to see them?
Well, I've got to say it's New Boys. It's LA. I think we've talked about how the production quality is the best at the Coliseum. And if there's any of the MLR stadiums that could have a TMO in place, it would probably be LA, where that owner would just be like, yep, sure, whatever, more money. Well, and also they've announced that the cheapest tickets for LA is $20, which is considerably cheaper than any other sport in the city. So I think they're trying to get, they're trying to get the fans there. They're trying to build their loyal fan base. Giltinis for everyone. And
I mean, when you're comparing your ticket prices to like the Lakers,
the Dodgers, the Kings, I don't know what the Kings kind of pull, but that's
a sports team in the middle of downtown Los Angeles. You bring in
that's pretty wild,
or whatever.
I'm excited about the Seattle news, guys. Listen, I love what you mentioned there, Stu. But I think you got to go and reward the people that have shown out from year one. And that really has been Seattle. Seattle has had the best fans in the stands almost every game. And I think for them, you can't reward the team this year, but the fans, I think that this is great news for them.
I think that's another thing, like for Seattle. I think Seattle's one of those teams that really thrives off that environment and stuff, right? Like
that buzz.
Yeah, the buzz.
Also, did you guys see that they practiced at the Seahawks stadium?
That was
cool. Oh yeah, no, that was cool.
That's crazy.
That was
that's another perk.
I like that.
Oh my gosh,
exactly.
All right, guys.
Luke Wilson using some connections maybe there. But that'd be cool.
When are we gonna see him debut this year?
Yeah,
in the CXFL maybe. Who knows? That's a weird story.
All right, guys. Well, let's get into the predictions now, because let's look at our standings now before we get into it. Derek, you are 9-11-1. Stu, you are 6-14-1, and I am in first place with 10-10-1. I'm almost at 500.
I hope that Cool Bet thing, that Arrows partnership, like I hope Cool Bet's loving the fact that they have rugby on their site right now, because they must be making so much money off losing bets every single week. There's no way anyone's like doing well at this right now. Like that's probably
it's funny if you look at Craig from American RFC and his Monday Morning Fly Half. He's just stopped putting his predictions after week 2. He just stopped, and it's great. I love it. All right, first round.
In all honesty, I'd be like, we should just flip coins for the picks. It's probably just as good.
If that's how you want to do it, Derek, you are more than welcome to. Toronto versus Seattle.
Toronto.
Whoa, Stu's picking Toronto? Wow, I guess the mojo's gone, eh?
Guys, little production error. my keyboard is dead, so I need someone else to type these in.
I gotcha. Don't
All
worry
right.
about it.
Derek is choosing Toronto, and Stu is choosing Toronto.
But
I'm also choosing Toronto.
Toronto's got to wear the blue shorts. Wear blue shorts, guys. They got to do it.
All right. You heard.
And they got to have your names on them.
Yeah, that's a nice little fun feature too.
Okay, NOLA versus New England. Derek, who are you choosing?
Man, wow. Yeah, I have no idea. I mean, this is like, they're all 50-50 at this point, right?
I'm going to say I'm picking the Free Jacks.
You're picking the Free Jacks. I'll take NOLA.
Okay.
One of us will do.
Okay, there you go.
You're taking the Free Jacks.
Yeah, unless there's a tie. Unless there's a goddamn tie.
You pick tie. You pick tie. There we go. We'll cover all our bases. One of us will win.
I'm going to go for New England as well, because especially after the week just gone, the teams that are coming back from a bye have been, in the ascendancy. So I think having a week off will help. So I'm going to go.
I think they're just going to be fired up after that first win, and Nola's going the other way. Okay, San Diego versus Utah. Oh, this is a toughie.
Utah. I'm going to go San Diego.
I'm going to go Utah too.
Am I? Never mind.
Say, what are you going to say?
I was going to say, am I just going to be like?
It's mixed up. It's mixed up.
Other side of the coin for everyone.
No. You and I have got the same pick so far, other than that one. Okay, Houston versus LA.
You know what? LA is the obvious choice here, which makes me think that the rugby gods will let Houston win this game, because this season makes no sense. And I think the epitome of this season making no sense is going to be Houston wins this game by like,
you know what?
I'll go even further, by like a lot. Like,
no, I was going to say I wanted someone on the podcast to go for Houston. So I'm going to go with LA.
Yeah,
Derek, I'll give you that one.
Realistically, if you're betting against LA, like, I don't know what you're doing, but also I've seen the way this season went, so the most obvious pick is probably not going to happen. I'm not really sure.
It's what do they call in hockey? It's a trap game.
The trap game, yes.
Yeah.
There you go. Is this at home?
Okay.
Who's home for this? Houston.
Houston is.
Yeah. Dude, that could be kind of.
Okay.
X factor too, because that's LA actually getting like an opposing team's crowd for the first time too.
Yeah. Okay. Austin versus Atlanta.
Austin.
This one's actually difficult.
I'm going with Austin.
I got to pick at least.
It's in Austin, isn't it?
I think.
Yes, it is in Austin.
Derek, did you say Austin?
Yes, you did.
I was going to say.
Okay, I'll go Atlanta then.
All right. Here's what we're going to do too, though. Let's flip a coin. We'll play the coin too, just to see how good this is. We should play a coin. See if a coin is better at picking.
For this last game?
No, for all the games. Oh, we haven't even finished all the games. All right.
We'll do that off show. We'll do it off show, and we'll have.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Last game. New York versus DC.
I'm going with DC. Again, they'll be coming back from a bye week. They'll have had the time.
All right. You talked me. I'll pick DC as well.
You guys both pick DC? I'll pick New York then.
Yeah.
All right.
All right then. So those are our picks.
I say we do
what a absolute crapshoot.
I say we got to do a coin flip right now on the show. Why not? End it.
For which game?
All of them. Heads
I don't even think I got a coin.
Tails is away team. I just have an app on my phone that I'm just going to flip. I'm just going to tell you who the coin is.
You have a coin flip app on your phone?
I have a toonie.
All right, Stu.
I prefer that.
Flip the toonie. We're going to
I made
a coin at this. I want to see if we can beat a coin. All right, so we're going to go with heads.
Okay, so Derek, you got to write down
heads is home team, tails is away.
Heads is home team
for every game.
Derek, because he's flipping, you write these down.
All right.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
It's tails.
So tails, so Seattle
away.
So Seattle for the coin.
That'd be Seattle. Yeah.
All right.
Is he gonna do it for every matchup?
Every
is
match. Let's keep going.
Keep going there, Stu. Then
Heads.
Heads. So Nola.
Tails.
Tails is Utah.
Utah.
Heads.
Houston.
Houston.
Right, I'm liking this one.
Heads.
Heads. So Austin.
Okay.
No, not
Okay.
Austin.
And fine. And heads again.
Heads again.
No, isn't it Austin?
No, yeah,
Austin's home team.
Sorry, I'm
Austin's
messing
home.
up my own rules. So yeah,
So
Austin
and New
York.
and heads again. And for last one, it's heads as well. Yeah.
Yeah, so New York. So
Okay.
we'll see just because of how random.
see
Keep a
this-
note of that.
And we'll see if we can beat a coin. So the coin has Seattle, NOLA, Utah, Houston, Austin, and Rooney. We'll see how this goes.
All right, guys. Well, that was I really enjoyed talking about that Arrows game, even though it was painful to bring back. It was a lot of fun. We also want to take the time to wish all of our listeners who are celebrating Ramadan a happy Ramadan. Take care of yourselves. Enjoy your time with your families. Enjoy as much eating you can at midnight, and hopefully it's not going to be the same. And then I found out with my family with Easter, these celebrations that we get to have are not going to be the same. So just stay safe out there. And for everyone else, if you would like to listen to more of our episodes, we have a good little library of interviews with Canadian rugby players. So feel free to go on YouTube, go on any of the podcast platforms to listen to them, and let us know what you want to see next from the show. If you guys want us to do some more interviews, if you guys want us to talk about certain things coming up, let us know. Tag us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. We're there. We would love to hear from you guys. And you know what? Get the coffee brewing. We got an early game come Saturday, boys.